Hello everyone, this is a channel about engines. Today we're going to assemble this engine. This is a MAN D2876. The disassembly of this engine is available on my channel. But this engine was taken from this kind of vehicle. I don't remember what I've already said on camera and what I haven't. I'll briefly tell you the backstory. A subscriber from Perm came to see me. He's from my neck of the woods too, so it's about engine repair. We removed the engine from the car and the block has some issues. There was a coolant leak between the heads, between the first and the second. And basically when I took it apart, it turned out that the block is a write-off. It's all corroded. So the customer bought another engine assembly. We got it here at the scrapyard, but it's not complete. It's without the heads, basically to get a discount so they wouldn't have to overpay for the whole engine. He bought the engine without the heads, so I took it apart. And from the engine that the customer bought, we take the block, the crankshaft, the camshaft. Basically, we assemble everything on the purchased engine, and also during disassembly. I don't know who hasn't watched it. For those who are interested, that episode is also interesting in my opinion. Yeah, there was a moment during disassembly. It turned out that the crankshaft had been ground. One journal was ground to the final undersize. Well, and also I think on the 6th cylinder the journal was ground to 0.25, but standard bearings were installed. This is also the first time I've seen something like this. The most interesting thing is that the engine was running, so this means we have a different block here. And this block has already had the machine work done. Basically, everything is standard. The cylinder head mating surface, the seat for the liners, and the seat for the main bearings. So, the engine was in for maintenance, the block was there for over a month. Well, we also had the New Year holidays and so on. So, the maintenance work dragged on for almost a month. There you go. A couple of days ago the block arrived at my workshop and basically I'm starting the assembly. So you can see what condition it's in. So there's some rust that showed up here. After washing it wasn't this rust. Well, maybe it was stored somewhere. Plus it's winter, they loaded it into the Gazelle in the cold, into the truck bed. So anyway, we got rust like this here. As you can see now I need to remove the covers. I've already unscrewed them here. They were tightened to the working torque when the main bearing bore was being machined. So I've unscrewed the covers. Now I'm taking them off. I'm also removing all the plugs here in the oil channels. Basically everything is as usual, just like always. I'm washing and blowing out the channels. Here I'm removing rust. Basically I'm preparing the block. I still need to go over the threads somewhere here. There's also the gasket seat where they sit and so on. So I'm starting to prepare the block. But first I'll show some footage of the work I've already done. Preparatory work. There was also an interesting moment with the cylinder head. It was kind of my mistake, or I don't even know how to put it. Anyway, you'll see it further in the video. So here are the clips that have already been filmed about the preparatory work. And then we'll move on to preparing the engine block. Alright, that's the scope of work we have. Let's get started. Alright, so I'm checking the cylinder heads for leaks. This is actually my last head. I started with the 6th, so 6th, 5th, 4th, 3rd. Everything's good. When I checked the second one, I found a defect. I'm checking the first one now, and it has the same defect. So, at the hole where the cylinder head bolt goes, right inside the hole, there's corrosion into the water jacket. We'll probably have to replace these two heads, because it shouldn't be like that. As an option, of course, you could seal up this whole hole with sealant when installing the bolt. But that wouldn't really be a proper rebuild. I don't like patching things up here and there. So now I'll let the customer know that we need to replace the two heads. Well, let's see what decision will be made. Now I'll remove this bolt and put the head back on the boards again. So I've assembled the heads, 4 of them, and put them on the shelf for now. 2 of them, as I showed, have a defect. The water jacket isn't sealed properly. So I called the customer and he said he would buy 2 heads from a salvage yard. Well, we have 2 engines here. Actually, one engine is from this truck and the other engine the customer bought from a salvage yard without heads. He'll also get 2 heads there and a set of bolts. So basically there's still work to do on the heads. We'll need to take them for testing again, a grinding machine. Then I'll have to lap the valves again. This time I'll pressure test first, then lap the valves. Well, actually pressure testing on these engines is basically a formality. It happens, I don't know, maybe once in 100 cylinder heads, maybe even once in 200. And here we have 2 at once. Well, I don't know. These cases have been happening more often lately, probably. From now on, I'll do the pressure test first and then start repairing the cylinder heads. So, for now, we're waiting on the heads. Still nothing yet. In the next few days, it should be coming back to me from the machine shop. There, we have the full set of main bearing saddles, the liner seat, and the cylinder head mating surface. So, we don't have the block yet either. Basically, all my preparatory work is already done. Almost everything has been sandblasted and cleaned. There's just a little bit left to do there. And right now, I'm still working on the preparations. And at the moment, I'm going to work with the flywheel. So, about the flywheel. We're keeping the flywheel from the engine that the truck came in with. So, what am I going to do with it? A new wear sleeve for the oil seal will be installed. I removed the old one. It has some minor wear. Of course, I could leave it, but in my opinion, it's better to replace it while everything is disassembled. Next, we'll install a new pilot bearing. It's wide. We had a narrow one with a spacer here. I'm installing a wide one. There's more contact area there. I think it's more reliable. And the ring gear will also be replaced. Here's the ring gear from this flywheel. We can see it in 3 places here. Since our engine is a 6-cylinder, the crankshaft journals are positioned at 120 degrees. That means the engine always stops in 3 positions. and accordingly the starter also engages from these 3 positions. This shows how it damaged the teeth. Almost halfway through, I don't even remember if I've ever seen flywheel teeth this worn out on the flywheel ring gear, so I removed the old ring gear. I took the ring gear off the engine that was bought at the junkyard. The flywheel itself is in a bit worse condition here, but the ring gear is good. We're using the flywheel from one engine and the ring gear from another. So what do I need to do now? I heat up this running ring. I install it hot under the oil seal. Next, I heat up the ring gear. I also install it while it's hot. Well, I install the bearing. Basically, that's it. The work on the flywheel is done. Next, I'll work on the pistons. I still need to clean off some carbon buildup somewhere here. We can see, even though I had them in a special chemical bath, but the carbon buildup, these deposits that are right between the piston crown and the first compression ring, we can see that they haven't dissolved. I need to remove them now somehow. And I also need to take off from the piston crown it the same height that was removed from the cylinder head mating surface. That's about 3/10 of a millimeter. So I'll be removing around 3 to 4/10, somewhere in that range. The cylinder heads are ready. I have the sandblasted manifolds here, but we're waiting for one more. The customer needs to buy a new one. Here I have all the parts for the compressor. Basically I started assembling the compressor. There were probably some shots of it, or there will be more. And basically the gear we have is the right diameter. We returned the gear and we ordered another gear, so I'm waiting on the compressor as well. Almost everything is ready here. Well, and also these 3 shelves on the rack. This is all from that engine as well. Here I have them. Everything has already been sandblasted. All the bolts, all the tubes, everything is washed, everything is cleaned, everything is blown through. So here you can just take everything and install it. On this shelf basically everything is ready too. I still need to clean the second set of heads. And also the third rack, everything is ready here as well. For example, the bolts are already prepared here. There are spots on the plate where the threads were stripped. I've already cut new threads there. I also drilled this bracket, prepared the bolt, adjusted the length, and so on. So I've already done a lot of work. I've worked on this engine for over 2 weeks. I didn't record much on camera, but I've pretty much finished all the prep work. So now I'm working on the flywheel. Well, and next, as I said, we'll work on the pistons. Let's go. Yesterday I spent the evening cleaning the engine block and just showed some footage of it. So I removed all the plugs and blew everything out. I washed it several times with this kind of cleaner. It's especially useful for cleaning oil passages. So I blew everything out several times. I wiped things here with some rags and so on. Now I've already prepared the nozzles. Here are some plugs, washers and so on. Now I'm going to close all of this, and I started visually inspecting the channels. And in this channel I don't know how to show it on camera. Basically there's some kind of rubber sticking out there. I don't know if you can see it on camera. Probably not, but I'll take it out now. It's not even rubber, it's some kind of plastic, like from a clamp or something. I can't figure out what it is. And how could it even end up in the oil channel? So it got stuck there like this, yeah. That's why you always need to inspect, even visually, even if everything seems clear when you blow air through it. In any case, you need to inspect visually. I mean, I checked air flows from all sides. All the inlets and outlets, air passes everywhere. But when I inspected it visually, I ended up noticing this thing. Well, of course. Who knows what it could have done there? It could have cracked. It could have gotten dragged somewhere, blocked some small channel, for example, on the connecting rod journal. And that's it. And our whole repair would have gone down the drain. Alright, now I'll visually inspect all the channels thoroughly once more and blow them out again. And then I'll install the plugs and the oil jets. And then I'll start installing the camshaft bushings. RIP. So let me briefly explain what's going on here. I installed the crankshaft, I tightened it, and showed how I tightened it. First we tighten it to 330 Newton meters, then we mark it across, turn it 90 degrees, and the marks should be along the length. The crankshaft is fully tightened and this is how it turns easily. I measured all the axial play. So about the crankshaft, our crankshaft has wear on the main journals of about 5 to 5.6 in that range. So I've already shared my opinion that it's better to leave the crankshaft with this kind of wear on standard bearings rather than grinding it down to the repair size, meaning for 0.25 bearings. Well, I don't know, that's just my opinion. Maybe someone thinks differently, write in the comments. So, I still haven't installed one cylinder liner here. Yesterday, when I was installing the cylinder liners, I was opening the boxes, and there basically in one box there were 3 upper seals, or rather lower seals, the ones that go into the block. But the upper one was missing. They differ a bit in profile and most importantly in size. I wanted to find a seal from what I had, found one, but then I thought, no, that's nonsense. You can't put just any seal in such a critical spot. So we ordered the right seal. Today I have a new seal, specifically the upper one. Everything's as it should be. Next I'll install the cylinder liner, followed by the pistons and connecting rods. I'll explain now. About the pistons and the rods. So the connecting rods were repaired as usual. We checked this spot for the rod bearings. Everything is fine here basically. And then the piston pin bushings were replaced. The new bushings have been machined. Well, basically everything is as usual, everything is standard. So about the pistons. We're keeping the old pistons, so only the cylinder liners are being replaced. Cylinder liners, piston rings and the liner seals. The pistons stay the same. The pistons are basically in good condition. The only thing is there was some carbon buildup right here. There was carbon buildup between the piston crown and the top compression ring. Well, when I was disassembling, I also told the customer that there would definitely be scoring under this carbon buildup. That's kind of traditional. There is some scoring, but it's not that severe. Of course, I've seen worse. We're keeping the old pistons. I removed the carbon buildup with chemicals. I didn't put them in my washer. The solution I have right now eats away at the anti-friction coating. And here it's actually in excellent condition. You could say it's like new. I didn't put it in the washer. I used a different cleaning method. The carbon buildup on the piston bottom in the combustion chamber appears to be gone. And this spot right here where I showed you there was a thick layer here. And this carbon buildup, it actually grows into the aluminum. So you have to scrape it off mechanically. It doesn't come off the aluminum easily. And after cleaning off this carbon, you can see the piston has some scoring and small pits. Next. Well, almost all the pistons have this scoring. Some have more, some have less. Well, I think these pistons will work. There shouldn't be any problems with them. Based on my experience, I'll say that I'm 99.5% sure there won't be any problems with these pistons. Here we have new rings. MAN 1.284 plus 3 plus 4. Well, that's the ring height. They can be different too. And here we have new connecting rod bearings, spotted type. The connecting rods were torqued to spec by the machinist. I unscrew the bolts, remove the caps. I wipe a few things down and blow everything out. I attach pistons to connecting rods. Install the piston rings. I install the bearings. Still need to install the cylinder liner. Well, I'm already installing the pistons into the block. I don't know if everything goes well today. I need to install the front and rear covers. I already have everything ready. Here's the housing ready. And install the oil pan. Everything is ready for that. The housing has been washed, cleaned, degreased, and the new oil seal is installed. The studs are installed here. There are also good new nuts. Alright, let's talk more action. Let's go.